Welcome to the PR Bunker podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and journeys of inspiring individuals who are making a difference in their fields. Today, we have a special guest who embodies resilience, transformation, and motivation. Meet Remy Rory, a man whose incredible journey from overcoming personal challenges to becoming a beacon of inspiration for many is nothing short of remarkable. Remy has a story that resonates with anyone striving to break barriers, whether it's in health, fitness, or personal growth. His insights and experiences are sure to leave you motivated and ready to tackle your own challenges. And now, let me introduce your host, the driving force behind the PR Bunker, Don Martelli. Don is not only the CEO of the PR Bunker, but also a seasoned communications expert with a passion for storytelling and connecting with people. With his unique perspective and engaging style, Don brings out the best in his guests, making each episode a must-listen. So, without further ado, let's dive into today's conversation with Remy Rory and your host, Don Martelli.
What's up, folks? Thanks for coming back to the PR Bunker. Excited about our conversation today. I meet a lot of people in what I do. And some folks will say, hey, I need you to meet somebody because of X. And I had somebody introduce me to my next guest, and I was like, all right, I'll go into this thing, we'll have a vibe, see what happens. 5 minutes into the conversation with my guest, Remy Rory, I was like, holy shit, this dude's like me, but not like me. We kind of look the same, but don't look the same. And the vibe was high. And I was like, I got to get him on my podcast. So PR Bunker podcast audience, I want to introduce you. It's my honor to introduce you to Remy Rory, who has got an incredible story, incredible journey. And he's going to share some insights today about his journey, how it applies to you that might be struggling with, whether it be nutrition, weight loss, or just getting the hell out of your own way. You want some motivation? Go to this dude's YouTube channel, and you're going to run through a brick wall when you're done. Remy, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you here today, man.
Honor and a pleasure to be here, Don. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you to your listeners and your following for checking
No problem. No problem. Well, I'd love for you to tell our audience, like, who are you? Where you're from? You know, tell us just journey and tell us, and we'll kind of catch up. But like, give us the 411 on Remy.
Yes, sir. So, humble beginnings. I'm from Baltimore City. Grew up without a lot, but I had a lot of ambition, and I knew from very early on that I was going to go into the Air Force. So I did my best to, finish school. I did that and joined the service. But the problem was I was 100 pounds overweight. So I had to lose 100 pounds to get in. And I did that by just basically starving myself, essentially. I got in, and like I always tell people, the way I did it wasn't sustainable. So I gained it all right back. And then they sent me to the desert, Saudi Arabia, for a 6-month tour. And I decided, while I'm there, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life because it's really boring over there, but they have a phenomenal gym. So that's what I did. I started going to the gym every day, hanging out with those guys. And through osmosis, I just started learning things, right? Like I was learning about supplements, learning about how to eat, different things. And I was trying them. And because I was in Saudi Arabia, I actually had changed my diet because I was so scared to eat food that wasn't, US backed or looked at. So I kind of just went vegetarian without really knowing it. Long story short, fast forward, I came back and had lost 100 pounds. And I decided, you know what? I'm not going to gain it back this time. I'm going to keep these lifestyle changes. And then it just became a lifestyle of something that I wanted to help other people do. Because I didn't want them banging their head against the wall, on how to lose weight. So that was kind of like the catalyst for everything. I left the military and decided to go work for a gym, work my way up to become her head trainer, and then realized I wanted to kind of start my own thing. And she was very supportive of that. Shout out to my good friend, Adrienne Cotton. She kind of taught me how to run a business on her dime and then, help me do my own thing. And once I started my own thing, I began to realize, yes, people were working with me. I figured out how to get them stronger, but they weren't looking any different. So I decided to use some of my military benefits, go back to Purdue University and obtain my bachelor's in nutrition, and then applied the things I learned from nutrition to my training program. So at this point, I had been a trainer for over 2 decades. And then when I started applying the nutrition, instantly people's weight started shifting. So that's when I realized you can't really do one without the other. And my tagline is always, you can out train a bad diet, but you can out diet bad training. So, I began to put more focus on the nutrition than the movement. And both matter, to be clear. But that's kind of the back of the book story on how I got where I am and why
Love
I'm
it.
so passionate about helping people lose weight.
Love that. I mean, obviously, it's a journey, and these things are hard, right? You can go to the gym, you can get on the bike, you walk the treadmill. It takes a stack of things to get to success. I mean, and clearly you've done it yourself. And what's the most rewarding part of your job? And then what's the most challenging part to get to those rewards? Because it's like my story. I was 325, big dude, lost about 50, 60 pounds, walking Peloton, and I'm in this kind of groove now where I'd like to shed 20, 30, but I'm 52 years old. And I'm like, you and I had this conversation. It's like, dude, it's what you put in your pie hole that really matters, because you can sweat your ass off on the bike for 3 hours. But if you're eating a bag of chips, it ain't gonna work, bro. So like for you, what's the most fulfilling part of the gig, but also the most challenging?
Those are two great questions. I'd have to say, this is going to sound so cliche, but the most fulfilling part, honestly, for me, Don, is when someone comes to me who doesn't think like the story you just said, all the reasons why it won't work, and then it begins to work. And that moment where they believe themselves. And it's a different time frame for every person, but everyone gets there who works with me. And they're like, no, this actually is working. I actually lost 10 pounds. That is like better than any payment someone could give me. Because when you give someone hope, honestly, Don, that's like there's no monetary, payment that you could get that matches that, in my
True
opinion.
that.
So that's kind of like the most rewarding thing when someone believes in themselves and I can be a part of that journey. The most difficult part, to be honest with you, is getting people to believe in themselves. You would be surprised, and especially, I mean, very successful people in life. Like, they've accomplished all their professional goals, but they have so many limiting beliefs when it comes to like what they're able to accomplish with their bodies. So, it's like, oh, you hear that saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, which
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that's not true with dogs, but with people, you can. It's just a method to the madness. And believe it or not, I had to take a lot of psychological training. Like I had to learn psychology to be able to teach people how to overcome their limiting beliefs when it comes to weight loss.
Love that. Well, when you talk about motivation, you talk about sort of, getting people excited. And this is a podcast when I always talk about either networking communications. The first thing I did after I was introduced to you is like, I got to check this dude out, do my research, hit your YouTube channel. And I read and watch content all day long, right? I find myself on this rabbit hole of your YouTube shorts. I'm like, man, I'm motivated. So how do you use your story and your content, your channels to market your business, to educate? What's that whole concept look like for you?
Yeah, that's also an interesting story and journey because I feel like I've just found my groove. I've been, throwing things at the wall, saying with sticks, and I started off really breaking the algorithm. I mean, I was getting millions of views, and what I was doing was I was going on the internet finding people who were eating like just crazy things, and then I would react to it, kind of like in a playful, funny way,
Got it.
but some of the stuff was egregious. And what wound up happening was I moved away from that style of content just because it didn't feel right in my spirit. Like I don't know people's story. I don't know
Sure.
why you're eating what you're eating.
Sure.
And granted, it was working. I was getting, a big following, but it didn't feel right. So I moved away from that. And then I just wanted to be authentic because I feel like there's so much noise in the, fitness food space. What do I really do? How do I really feel? And let me just show up as that. So I don't really do a lot of clickbait stuff. I don't do a lot of don't eat this. This is gonna kill you. I find balance, and I try to live my life in that space. So
Mm.
my content is more for the average everyday person, who wants to lose weight and the things you will actually encounter. And it's not really clickbaity or, I'm not fear mongering. I eat chips too. My son's birthday is today. I'm gonna have a cupcake on his
Happy birthday,
birthday.
young man. Happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you. But yeah, so it's all about balance. That's how I kind of find my content. I don't like to, be a
Got it.
influencer or anything like that.
Got it. Well, I mean, clearly you are influencing some people because you've got a successful business so far, but and you've been at it for a little bit now. But what's scale look like for you? I mean, as an entrepreneur, something tells me that the fire is always burning. You're never going to stop. You're never going to rest, right? You are first a trainer, got into nutrition, focused on that, pivoted that way. Clearly, I could see the smoke coming out of your ears now. Like
Yeah.
something's burning there. Like, what's the scale of your business look like?
You're good at this, Don. Yeah, so it's a lot of things in the pipeline. Some I have to keep close to the chest, but I will share this one with you. I love traveling. I just came back from the Dominican Republic. I'm actually headed to a cruise with my wife. We're
Nice,
leaving from California, going to Mexico next week,
nice.
and I just love seeing new places. And my travel agent came to me, and she's like, "Hey, Remy, you are always taking these cruises. I'm a travel agent. I have a big, relationship with Royal Caribbean. How would you feel about doing some like wellness cruises where you're
Come
kind
on,
of
man.
giving seminars about nutrition? You can actually train some of the people who show up. So we've been volleying these ideas back and forth because there's two things that I love, travel and nutrition. So that's something that's on the forefront. If people are interested in that, I'd love to
Yeah,
connect with them to keep them, abreast of what's going on. But I want to
absolutely.
combine those two worlds of people who love to take care of themselves and love to see new places. So that's one of the major things that I'm really
Man,
working.
I think that's a brilliant idea, man. Look, I went to Aruba with the wife and kids a couple summers ago, and I was like, man, love it there, right? Like all inclusive. And I'm like, yeah, let me bang back that bagel with a cup of coffee, and all of a sudden I'm getting a slice of pizza. So I think having that mentality, like, hey, the gloves are off. You're gonna have a full week of that stuff, but I think strategically building in some of that awareness so you can go have a good time and enjoy yourself and indulge when you want to, but at the same time, like be cognizant of making some good choices. But I love that idea. I love that scale because you're right. Whether you are 20 years old going on spring break or you're retired and you know that you need to live a healthy lifestyle to live until you're 90, but you love cruising, it's a great idea to kind of partner with those organizations and have it's funny if that work as you're traveling can pay for your trips. That's genius, bro. You can travel for free and do what you love.
Man, you talk about me trying to hit both sides at the same time. I'm like, yeah,
Great.
of course I will.
That's great. That is great. Awesome. 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 Now going back to clearly your business is driven through word of mouth, through advertising your content, but like talk to me about how powerful that network of people that you've impacted is for your business. What's that look like? Because I'm big on networking, and clearly you and I have met because of our respective networks. And somebody said these two dudes got to talk because they're basically the same kind of guy, just different shades, literally, right? And we're just like two dudes doing the same
Literally.
thing. How do
Yes.
you like? Why is that important to you? What networking? That network, the people you meet. Tell me about your kind of your journey in that regard as well.
Again, these lines, man, I've heard it said, and I'm sure your listeners have heard it said before that your network is your net worth, right? And I take that to heart because the amount of people that I've been able to meet, I mean, you just in general, my business has grown solely because of the relationships that I've built. And, I always say, I joke with my clients, I don't when we're in the session, I don't call them clients, I call them family because they share very personal things with their lives with me when we're going through these sessions, and now I'm invested. So I really try to treat everyone that I come into contact with as if they're a part of my family, knowing that you sow those seeds, and when people leave, they respect that integrity. They're willing to share your work with their people
Yeah, sure.
and bring them into your circle. And I don't do a lot of, I don't spend money on marketing. I don't do a lot of that because I believe the best marketing is the result that the person gets. And they will be inspired to go out and tell people about the work that we've done together. So,
I agree
I
with
just,
you. I mean, word,
yeah,
word of mouth is
integrity.
powerful. Yeah,
Yeah.
word of mouth is powerful. Now,
Yeah.
talk to me about the journey of the folks you do work with. Now, I'm sure there's a trigger in everybody that says, I need to do this. And
Right.
then they come to you in some way, shape, or form. And there's day one, right? And then there's like day 15, day 30. What's the average length of an engagement with folks like with that work with you? And then what's kind of those pivotal moments in that journey that like, again, fuel you to do what you do?
Yes, another great question. So usually when someone comes, what I try to do is we do an intake, an interview, like I call it a consultation. But essentially, just as much as that person is interviewing me, I'm interviewing them. And I want to hear whys. I want to hear why you want to do what you want to do. Because, after doing this for over 2 decades, the amount of people that come to me and say, hey, I want to get into shape, it's unbelievable, right? But wanting to get into shape and actually doing the work to get into shape are two different things. And if a person doesn't have a why and it has to be strong, everyone's why can be different, but it has to be something that propels them. You're not going to do it. I just know that from this point. So first things first is anchor a why. Some people's why is medical. They've gotten some type of diagnosis. Some people's why is purely aesthetic. And even if that's the case, usually I don't like that one, but if that's the case and it's strong enough, we can roll with it. Like if somebody's having trouble dating and they're like, if I could just get this weight off me, I might be able to do that. Could be a really strong why if that really impacts them. So you start with the why. Then what I typically find is I break this up into 16-week sessions. So I try to sell it that way because I feel like that's the amount of time it takes to create real change. Some people repeat it if they feel like, hey, there's more I can get. But usually after that, people can kind of go on autopilot, right? And in that 16 weeks, 4 months, I usually break it down into monthly thought processes. So that first month, we call the foundation. That's just building, right? Where I'm trying to get you to track your macros, eat properly 80% of the time, right? Still get used to the program. And once you do that, it becomes automatic. So it's nothing for you every time you eat to pull out your phone and type in. Then we want to deal with the nuance, your particular nuance. So that next month, I'm targeting like if a person's goal is to lose weight for a ski trip, we're going to start doing the things that you would be doing when you're skiing in your training to target whatever it is your goal is. That third month, we call maintenance. I want to teach you how to maintain this before we get to the end. And the fourth month is what I call your practice phase. Is where we're pretending I'm not there. Can you maintain this on your own? I'm still there to look at the guardrails. And if I see that something's slipping, I jump in, course correct. And then I leave you. I say, hey, I feel like you've gotten it. I don't want clients for life. I want you to go out on your own. And my whole thing is sustainability. So that's kind of like a general look. Every client is different. Some people I'm like, you're not ready to go to that next stage yet. Or you're way ready. We should jump to stage 2 now. You're good at this. So, I fluctuate, but that's kind of a general outline.
I appreciate that. I mean, it sounds like a sound process. And I'm sure the intimacy and that relationship you're building over that 4 months is why the word of mouth marketing works for you, because you don't have to market. You've got real world testimonials. I'm sure you've got laundry list of folks that have gone through the trenches and are so thankful for it, which is fantastic. So outside of your hustle and the job and your clients and your kids and the life and your wife, which we'll get to in a second, because I got a little thing, because I think your wife is from my hood, not your hood. We'll get to that in a second. You told me last night. I got a question for that too. But when you do have free time, which is probably not a ton, what are the things you like to do? What do you do for fun?
Again, not probably exciting to everyone, but super exciting to me. I love to hike. I love getting outdoors. So anything outside. I take my kids camping every summer. We go pretty much once or twice a month. I love hiking every day if I can, and usually I try to make it a non-negotiable. I do an hour and a half hike or walk around a nature trail somewhere in Virginia. We got tons of them out here in Virginia. So I love hiking. I love getting outside. I love being outdoors. So anything that requires the sun touching my back, you'll find me there. I know this sounds cliche too, but I really do love playing with my kids. They love football. They love throwing the ball. So I'll do all that kind of stuff. Water, anything associated with water, find me there. And then like I said earlier, travel. Those are like my things. I'm also a big self-help guy, maybe to a fault sometimes, but I love reading self-help books. Any self-help guru, I'll probably will check out their book.
Not your business though, right? That's what you do, right? Because you had to get through that journey to help other people to realize that thing. So when I think of hiking, traveling, spending time with your family, water, and all that sort of stuff, when you and I first talked, I realized you married a queen from Dorchester, Massachusetts, which is kind of cool, right? So now, apparently you're going to be maybe heading this way at some point. So in Massachusetts, we got plenty of hiking trails. You're going to be right along the water. So all those vices that you like, and you're going to be plugged right in here in Boston. Not that B-more is that, you have that accessibility, but here in Boston, you have all those. We got the Blue Mountains. We've got you're an hour and a half away from the mountains in New Hampshire, and 2.5 hours from North Conway, which has all types of mountains and stuff like that. So you'll be a Bostonian before you know it, my man.
Well, one of the things that's interesting is those self-help books I was talking about. One of them that I've really been diving into is a book by Henry David Thoreau called Walden. And apparently that pond is in Massachusetts. So
Walden
I can't
Pond.
wait to get out there and visit the site where
I tell you what, with everything you read about it and everything that's kind of in the lore of Walden Pond, You get there and you're going to go, huh, it's just a
That,
pond.
that's the third person to tell me that. Everyone's like, you get there and it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a little sand, it's a little water. That's cool. But it does have it does open your brain to thinking through the exploration and walking around it and kind of doing that. But it's a beautiful place. Last couple questions here. If people want to engage, ask questions, network with you, where can they find you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Great question. I am MNE Fitcamp, FITCAMP, pretty much on everything. Email Remy at mnefitcamp.com, REMI at mnefitcamp.com. All socials, mnefitcamp.com. And yeah, I respond. I'm very proactive on there. So please reach out. Any questions, anything.
Fantastic. What's your social media vice of choice? Which one platform do you like?
You know, I have the biggest following on Instagram. I tend to share more of my personal life on Instagram, but I've really been diving into TikTok a lot more lately. Like that's the one, but YouTube is what I consume the most, you know.
No, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, because clearly in your space, I mean, you have a visual product, and it's not a product per se, but it's the people. And I watch a lot of testimonials, and you can hear the emotion in their stories, which I think is fantastic. Thinking about all this, I mean, do you have an anecdote or a story or like when people say, what do you do for work and you describe it, but there's always an example. Hey, let me tell you about so-and-so. Is there a story that just kind of sticks with you from day one to now that just is emblematic of the work that you do? And if so, feel free to share it.
There's a client that came to me, my now good friend Lisa. Funny, that's my wife's name too. But she was overweight and she was from Baltimore as well, trying to, figure out on her own what she was going to do. And she was telling me over and over again that, she didn't think this would work or she might have problems here. And we worked through so many excuses or problems that she thought she couldn't overcome. And I mean, her testimonials on my social media as well. I invite people to go look at it because she goes into depth onto what she went through and overcame. But for her to lose, 40, 45, 40, 50, I believe, pounds in the time frame that we worked together, and for her to take that and then live her life on autopilot on her own was one of the best things that I have ever done because she really didn't believe it in the beginning, at all. And, to hear her talk, I mean, she cries in her testimony, to hear her talk about how these things have impacted her, it's amazing. So I love her story.
And that's great stuff. It's funny. I often joke when I'm talking about the work with my clients. I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm not saving or changing lives here, right? Just kind of because I work in communications, but in your case, you kind of are. Like you literally, you can live a lifestyle and be overweight. And who knows? You can go those health issues around. It can catch you. So it's good. You're literally changing lives, which is great.
I would argue you are too, because somebody's got to tell the story, and you help people tell that story, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are times where the work that I do to tell stories is by design to just help other people network or help grow their business or help support nonprofits. So that content gets put into marketing to raise money for small business, for nonprofits. And then the interviewing that I do for those like you that are small business owners, because the economy is made up of small business owners, right? We're all out here kind of grinding and hustling. And I think that if we band together and tell each other stories and pay it forward and build like, know, and trust, I'm a firm believer in that boomerang, So I think, there's a lot of folks out there doing really bad things and they can do whatever they want. But for me, I'm all about carrying that white flag, doing some good stuff for folks and just telling stories because as a former journalist, I always find people's journeys to where they are today so interesting because you didn't wake up and say, I'm going to go to the military, gain this weight, lose it, start this business. Life is not scripted.
No.
It might be from the powers that be, but like as you're going through it, you're just kind of making every decision you make.
Moving along.
Every decision you make kind of impacts where the page turns.
I got a question for you though, Don. I know this was supposed to be an interview for me, but I can't leave without asking one question.
Anyway,
what inspires you to talk to business owners, people that, really don't even have anything to do with your particular field? What makes you want to do this? Because I think this is a great idea and I love that you do it.
Yeah, because I think that in today's always on 24/7, 365 heavy content world, it's really hard for good stories to break through. And so I want to be the guy that's carrying that flag in the middle of the war field carrying that good story and making sure that people hear it. And that's what drives me. Other people's success and telling those stories, because as I said before, when I do these sort of things, people reach out to me. I'd love to meet, Remy. I'd love to talk about your podcast on, and just, I feel like when I have good intentions and I do good things for good people, one, it rewards me. It feels good. Two, I think that we're all deserving to tell our story in different ways. And if I can be a galvanizing entity or create a moment for other people, I think it brings me back to my journalistic roots, because I'm a former reporter and I love interviewing people because I love getting to the story. And I feel like my journey to where I am today was kind of crazy, messy, nutty, and like everybody else's. And so it makes me feel good, keeps me in my journalistic roots. It's good content for my brand because it shows I have associations, because I talk a lot about how rich and deep my network is, right? Folks that know SEO or AI, or folks that have been in the military that work in nutrition and weight loss, to folks that work in bookkeeping. I've got this network of people. It's because of what I do. And so it fuels my network. Love telling good stories, and I get to have good conversations with cool people.
I love this, man. Yeah,
I
this is
appreciate
awesome.
that question. I appreciate
Yeah,
that a lot. All right.
yeah.
So remind people again, where can they find you?
MNEFitCamp.com, the website, www.mnefitcamp.com, everything, mnefitcamp.com. Email Remy@mnefitcamp.
Love that. And if any of you are out there are thinking about the stuff that Remy was talking about, and it's flying around in your brain, you just want to have a conversation, I know this dude will spend some time with you, as I can just talking to you and listening to you about what you're thinking about now, what those potential next steps are. And you mentioned to me when we did our first call, it's like, it's not about thinking about the 4 months, but it's about day one.
Correct. Yes. It's about the goal. And that's what matters, So
Well, congratulations on the success so far. I'm looking forward to being like the Carnival Cruise, like nutrition guy, and like all of a sudden having to do what to do. Happy birthday to your son, and all that kind of good stuff. I'm looking forward to following you along and building this relationship and see how we can help. But Remy, it's been a pleasure having you on the PR Bunker podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Don. It's been a pleasure, sir.
Anytime, my man.
Thanks for tuning in to the PR Bunker podcast, where we go beyond the headlines and into the trenches with founders, builders, and operators making real moves. This show is brought to you by the PR Bunker, a strategic communications agency helping mission-driven and impact-focused organizations cut through the noise and tell stories that matter. Want to learn more? Head to prbunker.com and subscribe to the Bunker Briefing, our monthly email newsletter packed with a 45-second read that's stacked with value. We're talking practical PR and communications insights, networking tips, and strategies to help you navigate the moments that matter. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. We've got more raw, real conversations on the way. So stay locked in. Until next time, keep building, stay resilient, and remember, momentum favors the bold.